All right, so a couple of these are going to be confusing. Some of them are just going to be trivia, but there are going to be two important ones. The first important one is going to be Big Bear. There is a Big Bear City and a Big Bear Lake. They're right next to each other, but there are post offices in each one. So just make sure that you don't send your resupply box to Big Bear City Post Office and you end up going to Big Bear Lake Post Office. So just know the difference there. I recommend sending your resupply boxes to Ski House, spelled H-A-U-S, in Big Bear Lake. And they will accept your packages, and you could also do Amazon buys because they'll accept all three carriers. So more on that on my resupply video, or my resupply videos, but just beware that there is a Big Bear City and a Big Bear Lake. The next one's going to be Cajon. A lot of people pronounce that Cajun, but that's a completely different part of the country or different type of food. And it is spelled C-A-J-O-N and means box in Spanish or in Mexican. And it is the El Cajon Transit Center that some of you will briefly go through in San Diego. And then the Cajon Pass McDonald's, which is what everyone will be going through. The trail passes through there. So the Cajon Pass McDonald's. Next one's going to be Tehachapi. I've heard it pronounced Tehachapi, but it's pronounced Tehachapi. Then Kennedy Meadows South. So there's KMS and KMN. For the most part, most hikers are going to be familiar with Kennedy Meadows South, and that's going to have Grumpy Bears and the general store there at KMS. But don't say, I'm going to meet you at KMS North, or I'm going to meet you at KMN South, because that doesn't mean anything to other people, because you've interspaced the M's and N's and S's. So just know that there is some confusion because there are two Kennedy Meadows. The story behind those is pretty funny, so try to pick up on that as you proceed up trail. Next is going to be Eureka and Yreka. So Eureka is a town in California that's on the coast and nowhere near the PCT. Yreka is a town in California, Northern California, and if you're taking public transit, it's a stop to get to both Etna or Side Valley. So just know that you'll probably be dealing with Yreka, but to pronounce it Yreka, because I don't want you to confuse it with a town called Eureka in California also. Same thing with a town in Shelter Cove. There's a small little town on the coast that most Californians are familiar with called Shelter Cove, and that is not the Shelter Cove Resort that you'll be talking about, which is north of Crater Lake, is Shelter Cove Resort on Odell Lake, and probably a place where you will be sending a resupply box to, but more on that on my resupplies sending information videos. Okay, so that's, let me make sure I got them all. Oh, Sierras. Sierra is already plural, so do not pluralize Sierra by adding an S. I don't know, some locals get really triggered, I don't know why, when you say Sierra with an S. So just say plural form is already without an S, the Sierra Nevada mountain range or the Sierra. North Cascades, however, isn't plural, or it has an S in it, and so it is the North Cascades mountain range. Let's see, and then the big one, Snowqualmie. Snowqualmie Pass is on trail. Snowqualmie Town is 26 miles west, so do not send your resupply box to Snowqualmie Town post office, inadvertently, you're going to have to hitch 26 miles west. There are resupply receiving areas. There's a Snowqualmie Pass Snowqualmie Pass Chevron station and a Snowqualmie Summit Inn hotel. Both of those will accept your resupply. There's also a medium-sized grocery store at Snowqualmie Pass, and so you don't have to send a resupply box there at all unless you have some ride or die items or you have specialty diets or medications. But just make sure you're not sending your resupply box inadvertently to Snowqualmie town, because that's much further away. So there's Snowqualmie Wilderness and Tuolumne Wilderness. That's how you pronounce them. You could just say the Moke, but Snowqualmie Wilderness and Tuolumne Wilderness, and near Yosemite Park. Let's see. And the last one's going to be, and you'll have to bear with me because I'm still not familiar with this one. There's Mazama Village, which is at one of the entrances of Crater Lake, the southern entrance to Crater Lake, and that is separate from the store on the rim. There's a small little store at the top on the rim, and then the Mazama Village store is near the campground where all the hikers are going to be staying for hikers before you do the rim alternate. And then that's the Mazama Village store. You might I'll also point out that there's a post office that is at the administration building, which is about 3 miles away from the Mazama Village store. Some packages end up there. I don't know why. I'll try to figure it out. I've been trying to figure it out for a couple of years, but just know that sometimes you might get directed to, very few hikers will get directed to the post office. Let's see. And then that, not to get mixed up with Mazama. I've called Lion a couple of times, and this is my interpretation of our conversation. Mazama is the last town in Washington before the northern terminus at Hart's Pass. So the little town of Mazama, Washington is pronounced like you would Alabama, and then the Mazama Village store is pronounced like you just had a really good day and you're tired and you just went in your tent and went, ah. So, Mazama and Mazama. Okay, cheers. See you. Bye.